stay with me for a moment. Seriously, don't scroll. A political earthquake just shattered Texas, and Donald Trump's presidency may never recover. In a district Trump won by 17 points just 1 year ago, Democrats didn't just win, they dominated by 14 points. That's a 31-point swing, and the Republican Party is in full-blown panic mode. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel cuts through the noise to bring you the political stories that matter most. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because what happened in Texas isn't just a local election. It's a warning sign that could reshape American politics. On January 31, 2026, something unprecedented happened in Texas State Senate District 9. A Democratic candidate, Taylor Ramett, crushed Republican Lee Wambsgans by 14 percentage points, 57% to 43%. This wasn't just any district. This was Trump country, a place where he won by 17 points in 2024. And in just 12 months, voters didn't just switch sides, they obliterated the Republican majority. News outlets are calling it a stunning upset, a massive political earthquake, and a sign that panic is spreading within the Republican Party. Even Trump's last-minute desperate plea to voters couldn't stop the bleeding. So what exactly happened in Texas? Why did voters turn so dramatically against the party they supported just a year ago? And what does this mean for Trump's presidency and the upcoming midterm elections? Let's break it down. Let's start with the raw numbers because they're absolutely staggering. Texas State Senate District 9. In the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump won this district by 17 percentage points. Fast forward to January 31, 2026, just over 1 year later, and the Democratic candidate wins by 14 percentage points. Do the math. That's a 31-point swing in voter preference in a single year. To put that in perspective, a 31-point swing is virtually unheard of in American politics without a major scandal or catastrophic event. We're talking about tens of thousands of voters who enthusiastically supported Trump in 2024, either staying home or actively voting for a Democrat in 2026. But here's where it gets even more remarkable: the money. Republican candidate Lee Wambsgans spent approximately $730,000 on her campaign. That's about 1 billion Korean won. Democratic candidate Taylor Ramett? She had only about $70,000. That's a 10-to-1 funding disadvantage. Think about what that means. The Republican candidate had 10 times the resources. Money for advertising, ground operations, voter outreach, everything, and she still lost by double digits. This wasn't about who had the better campaign infrastructure or the slicker ads. This was a pure rejection of what the Republican Party has become under Trump. Before the election, political analysts and local media were cautiously optimistic about Democratic chances, but repeatedly said that overcoming Texas's solid red wall would be impossible. The conventional wisdom was that Texas is too Republican, too conservative, too loyal to Trump for a flip like this to happen. The voters proved everyone wrong. And that's what has the Republican establishment terrified. What makes this defeat particularly devastating for Donald Trump is that he saw it coming and tried to stop it, and failed spectacularly. On the day of the election, Trump took to Truth Social with a lengthy, desperate message urging his supporters to turn out for Lee Wambsgans. He called her a phenomenal candidate and a tremendous supporter of the Make America Great Again movement. He invoked his very good friend, Dan Patrick, Texas's lieutenant governor, saying Patrick needs her to keep Texas red. Trump ended with his strongest possible endorsement. Wambsgans has my complete and full endorsement. It didn't matter. Texas voters in a district that overwhelmingly supported Trump just a year earlier ignored his plea and voted Democratic anyway. This is unprecedented. Trump's endorsement used to be political gold in Republican primaries and special elections. Candidates would fight for his approval because it virtually guaranteed victory in conservative districts. But something has fundamentally changed. Trump's brand is no longer an asset. It's becoming a liability, even in deep red Texas. And Trump's response to the loss? Classic deflection and denial. When reporters asked him about the Texas defeat on February 1st, He claimed he hadn't heard about that and asked, "Who ran where?" He then insisted, "I wasn't involved. It's a Texas local issue." Let's be clear, Trump absolutely was involved. He posted multiple appeals on social media. He gave his complete and full endorsement. He personally tried to mobilize his base, and when it didn't work, when his influence proved worthless, he simply pretended it never happened. Then came the revealing moment. A reporter pressed him. "Did this person lose in a place you won by 17 percentage points?" Trump responded unhappily, "Such things can happen. How would I know if the impact will shift to the midterm elections this year?" That response tells you everything. Trump is worried. He knows this isn't normal. He knows a 31-point swing in his favor turning into a 14-point loss is catastrophic. And he's already trying to distance himself from the implications. Here's what the Trump administration doesn't want you to realize. Texas isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern of Republican collapse that's accelerating. Let's rewind to late 2025. The New York City mayoral election. A Democratic stronghold, so when Republicans lost there, it was easy to dismiss. Of course we lost New York, the thinking went. It's hostile territory. But then came Miami in December 2025. Miami, Florida, Trump's home state. A city that had been under Republican control for 28 years. 28 years of unbroken Republican dominance. And in one night, a Democratic candidate won, shattering the monopoly. Florida was supposed to be Trump country. Ron DeSantis had turned the state into a national model for Republican governance. Trump lives there. Mar-a-Lago is there. And yet, Miami flipped. Now Texas. Not just any part of Texas. A district Trump personally won by 17 points. Gone. Flipped by 14 points to the Democrats. Do you see the pattern? First, Democrats hold their territory in New York. Then they breach the Republican wall in Florida. Now they're winning in the heart of Texas Trump country. The Republican firewall is collapsing from multiple directions. Political analysts are now asking a question that would have seemed absurd just months ago. Are there any safe Republican seats left in America? The Democratic National Committee immediately seized on this, issuing a statement declaring, "If the Republican Party loses even in a district Trump won by 17 percentage points, there are no safe Republican seats across America." And they're right. If a 17-point Trump district can flip 31 points in a single year, then every Republican incumbent should be terrified. Because if it can happen in rural Texas, it can happen anywhere. So why did this happen? Why did Texas voters abandon the Republican Party so dramatically? Let's start with the candidate. Lee Wamsgans was a former executive at a far-right media outlet who ran on a platform of hardline Christian conservatism. She emphasized culture war issues, attacks on public education, transgender rights, so-called woke ideology. This is the playbook that Trump and the modern Republican Party have relied on for years. But here's the problem. While Republican politicians and media personalities obsess over culture wars, regular Americans are struggling with real concrete problems. Inflation is still high. Housing costs are through the roof. Grocery bills are eating up bigger portions of family budgets. People are working harder and falling further behind. And what has the Trump administration focused on during its second term? Political retaliation against opponents, culture war battles, threats against comedians and celebrities, executive orders that get reversed within days, chaos, drama, and infighting. Voters in Texas State Senate District 9, many of them working class, many of them independents or moderate Republicans, looked at their own lives and asked, "What has this party done for me?" And they couldn't find a good answer. Political analysts described the election as a clear signal that voters are fatigued with the Trump administration's policies, particularly its focus on education and culture war issues. Translation: people are tired of the circus. They want solutions, not sound bites. But there's something deeper happening here, something that goes beyond any single candidate or any single issue. This is about a fundamental loss of trust. Voters who supported Trump in 2024 believed he would deliver results, better jobs, lower costs, stronger communities. 1 year into his second term, those promises remain unfulfilled, and patience is running out. The 31-point swing isn't just about Democratic enthusiasm or Republican complacency. It's a judgment, a harsh, unmistakable judgment on Trump's governance and on what the Republican Party has become. Let's talk about what this means for the midterm elections in November 2026, because the implications are massive. If current trends hold, we could be looking at a Democratic wave unlike anything we've seen in decades. Remember, special elections are often leading indicators for midterms. They show where voter enthusiasm lies and which party has momentum. Right now, all the momentum is with Democrats. They're winning in places they have no business winning, not just holding their own turf, but actively flipping Republican strongholds. And they're doing it with less money, weaker infrastructure, and against candidates personally endorsed by the sitting president. The Republican Party is now facing a nightmare scenario, defending seats in districts that should be safe, but suddenly aren't. Every Republican incumbent in a district Trump won by less than 20 points should be looking at the Texas result and panicking, because if a 17-point Trump district can flip by 31 points, then a 10-point Trump district is absolutely in play. Even more concerning for Republicans, the enthusiasm gap. Democratic voters are energized. They're turning out in special elections, which typically have low participation. They're donating to underfunded candidates and volunteering for campaigns. They believe they can win, and belief matters in politics. Meanwhile, Republican voters are showing signs of exhaustion and disillusionment. Trump's base remains loyal, but it's shrinking. Moderate Republicans and independents who voted for Trump in 2024 are drifting away. Some are staying home. Others are actively voting Democratic. And here's the critical factor. Trump himself is now a liability on the campaign trail. His endorsement, once a golden ticket, failed spectacularly in Texas. Republican strategists are privately debating whether to invite Trump to campaign for vulnerable incumbents or whether his presence would actually hurt their chances. If Democrats take back the House in November, and the Texas result suggests that's increasingly possible, Trump becomes a lame duck president with 2 years left in his term. His legislative agenda dies. Investigations into his administration accelerate. His political power evaporates. The stakes couldn't be higher. The Republican Party's response to the Texas disaster has been telling. Defeated candidate Lee Wamsgans called the loss a wake-up call for the Republican Party. But here's the question. Will they actually wake up, or will they hit the snooze button? The pattern we've seen from Trump and the Republican establishment is to deny, deflect, and double down. Deny the problem exists. Deflect blame to external factors, media bias, voter fraud conspiracies, whatever. And then double down on the exact strategies that aren't working. Trump's response to reporters, pretending he wasn't involved, dismissing it as a Texas local issue, suggests the party hasn't learned anything. If you can't acknowledge a problem, you can't fix it. Meanwhile, dark clouds are gathering over the Republican Party as November approaches. The Make America Great Again red wave that was supposed to carry Trump to dominance is receding, and time is running out to change course. A 31-point swing. From a 17-point Trump victory to a 14-point Democratic win. In Texas, in 1 year. This isn't just a wake-up call for the Republican Party. It's a 5-alarm fire. And if they don't find a way to put it out, November is going to be a bloodbath. What do you think? Is this the beginning of a Democratic wave, or can Republicans turn things around? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs to understand that American politics just fundamentally shifted. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.